changing the face of therapy on
Both
sides of the couch. This side, that side.
Welcome back. I'm Ebony Harris.
And I'm Elisa Joaquin.
I know we never introduce ourselves, so we have to start doing that more often. Like we literally just start talking. And so today we're going to be talking about self-care. Of course, y'all know self-care is really big with Melanin and mental health, making sure that you're taking care of yourself, because if you don't do it, no one else will for you. And so one of the things we discussed is the difficulties of people knowing what self-care is and how to do it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. First, we're going to Austin.
Yes, Austin.
April 20th.
April 20th, we will be in Austin doing our Melanin Mental Health Happy Hour.
Yes. So if you're in the Austin area, let us know. We'll have the details soon.
Very soon.
So let us know if you're able to make it. We hope to meet some dope therapists there. And then we'll be back in Houston in May for an event.
Yes.
That's going to happen.
It's going to be good.
It's going to be We're brainstorming. We have some good ideas, so we'll be back in Houston. And then, what else is going on? You have an event tomorrow, but that...
I do.
You're talking about self-care?
Yes, I'm talking about self-care. I was invited by the Coast Guard.
Actually,
we were invited by the Coast Guard.
It's today, because technically that's why we're recording early, because you have to be in Galveston.
I'm going to be on base.
Exactly. Talking about self-care. Yeah, Melanie Mental was invited. At least I have that one. So that's awesome. And then I'll be speaking at... it's a program or organization called Black University, and that's going to be on March 31st at the library. We'll put the details up whenever... I have them. We'll put the details up soon. But that's where I'm going to be discussing everything you thought about love could possibly be wrong. And so we're talking about the messages we got growing up, the things we learned from our parents, how do we let go of some of those things, triggers, everything related to like what are your ideas around relationships and possibly sex, because I like talking about that. And then how do you shift them to be healthier and more of your own ideas as opposed to what somebody else has taught you.
Because just because they were... maybe because they work for somebody else, or maybe they really didn't. Doesn't mean that they're going to work for you.
Exactly. Right. So that's what we're going to be doing. That's what we have coming up. So check us out.
Please.
Make sure that you're heading over to melaninandmentalhealth.com to see what we have going on. We also have new blogs. I think I've scheduled 3 more blogs.
I love it.
So check that out. And yeah, if you're a clinic, well, I'm going to say all this at the end. We'll talk about it at the end, but just check us out. All right, so self-care. We're going to start with the basic question of what is self-care. That's what most people just don't really know what that means.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know what it was. It kept coming up in grad school. My professors would really stress this concept of self-care and how important it was when you're in the mental health profession and compassion fatigue. And they would tell us how important it was, but I couldn't really understand what it was.
Right.
I remember sitting in class and saying, what is self-care? I feel like everybody is in on this concept except me. And so, having to really figure out what does self-care mean.
Okay, yeah. I think it's the same way. When you hear self-care, you automatically think of like, oh, you mean like getting my nails done or getting a massage, and that's like the extent of it.
Yeah, going to the spa.
Right.
Which is all lovely.
It's all nice, and that can be considered self-care as well.
Yes.
But that's not the only form. So when we're thinking about overall concept, like how do you know if something is self-care or if it isn't?
Well, because that's one of the big things that I will often hear clients express when I'm encouraging self-care, and they'll say, well, I feel selfish for doing it. And the biggest indicator or barometer to tell whether it's selfish or you're practicing self-care, I say, is when you are practicing self-care, you're tending to your needs, your desires, but it's not at the expense of someone else. Right? And so being selfish, if you're being selfish, you're tending maybe to your needs and your desires, but it's at the expense, sometimes even harming someone else. Be it emotionally, physically, financially. So self-care might disappoint people. Oh, what do you mean you need to take a break? But it's not causing somebody else harm.
But even that, I feel like you also have to be very aware of your triggers and what your concerns are, your insecurities are, because a lot of times moms struggle with that because they're like, well, if I'm not with my kids, I'm harming them. And it's like, nope, that's not the case.
No, and I'm so glad you mentioned that, because moms, we are notorious for this. Like, oh my goodness, like my kids, and really, I will often stress, it's our divine responsibility to care for the mother of our children, and I think when you add to it culture also,
right?
For example, me being Latina, Mexican and Catholic,
right?
Where
you have a certain responsibility.
You are rewarded for not practicing self-care, really,
right? And
so it takes a real rewiring and shift in perception as to what it means to care for yourself.
Right. I 100% agree that, it's times where you look at it like, well, I'm just sacrificing. And it's that martyrdom. It's that you're special for sacrificing yourself for someone else.
Yeah.
But at some point, you're going to run yourself to a point where your body's going to decide.
It will.
It will decide for you.
You will crash.
Yeah.
I talk about this all the time. It's like, you can keep it up for so long, and then you might get sick. You might have that emotional breakdown.
Right.
It will catch up with you. And I think we've talked about this before, about how we take a certain amount of pride in the length between,
right,
the burnout and me denying my needs, or I don't need that. There's that longevity. How long can I keep going?
Can I go? Right. Which is, it's not fair to you, but especially not the people that you're wanting to care for. Because if you run yourself to a point where your body literally takes you out,
that's right,
and you're done for like a weekend, now and then that wasn't scheduled or that wasn't planned. Now you're missing certain things, and now still you're a detriment, or you're harming somebody else sometimes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what I'm like. Self-care isn't selfish, but not tending to yourself can be really selfish, because then who is going to care for you?
Right.
Somebody.
Right. So they're going to have to take care of you because you haven't taken care of yourself.
That's right.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So what is not self-care?
What's not self-care is overindulgence either. Because I think part of self-care, the not spa and bubble baths, is doing your taxes.
Yeah.
Is, having a routine, is tending to your home, the stuff that you have to do in order for you not to have high levels of anxiety, not be missing appointments. That it includes the not so glamorous stuff also. Right.
And I definitely think that it's not, self-care is not irresponsible.
Yes.
And so if I feel like, for me, a spa day is me taking care of myself, but financially that means I can't pay a bill, then that's not self-care. You have to find a way to do a spa day at your house where you can save some money. So I think that it's when you're doing self-care, it's not irresponsible. You have to be responsible with it.
I love that you said that, because I think that's one of the other arguments I'll often hear is, I don't have the money for that. Right? Well, I love what you said. Okay, maybe you don't have the money or the resources to go to the spa, but what can you do at home?
Yeah.
Is that a nice bubble bath? Is that sitting in the backyard in the sun? What is it? Because clearly there's some needs that we need to tend to.
Yeah.
And how can you do that with what you have?
Exactly. And understanding what part of that self-care routine, what does it do for you, right? Is it, I go to the spa because I get silence?
Yeah.
And aromas or whatever. Then, okay, how can we get husband to take kids for 2 hours so I can have silence? Or where else can I go to get silence? So really, I think sometimes we just do things out of habit without even understanding what regenerates us, what helps us with that. And so I think that can help you come up with other ideas outside of that specific thing sometimes, if it's not an option.
I love that you said that. And I think that kind of, to piggyback off of that, is sometimes people won't be supportive of your self-care.
Yeah.
What if husband doesn't want to take the kids? Right. And so that in it of itself is also, if you're getting resistance from people about you caring for yourself, why? Because that may be an issue. That if you tending to yourself so that you're at 100% and that's upsetting somebody, or they are saying things that they want to make you feel guilty or get you to feel guilty, that's a problem.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
And is that why you push self-care to the back burner, because you feel guilty or you have these messages coming in from them?
Who's reinforcing the message that self-care is selfish?
Exactly. So why do you think people struggle so much with self-care? Like, so we just talked about kind of like the people around you, and are they allowing you the space to be able to do that?
Yes.
What other reasons do people struggle with self-care? I think a big one is what we kind of said at the beginning, of just not even knowing really what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Awareness of what self-care is. But I think there's also, especially in this culture, we are often really disconnected from ourselves. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lack of self-awareness. Why am I irritable today?
Right.
Why am I feeling low today? And I feel like we're in such a fast-paced society that we don't take the time to check in with ourselves.
Right.
And so I think a big part of it is there's a lack of connection that we have with ourselves. Mm-hmm. Or even be able to identify our needs.
That's what I was about to say, to be aware of that you need something, and then what is that thing. Mm-hmm. And so if you're blaming frustrations and moods and all that stuff on other people or outside sources,
right,
then it's going to be hard to believe that I can take care of myself and make it better.
That's right.
So I think that's also a big thing. Is like, where do you feel like the negative parts of your life come from? You know, of course, we all have things that affect us and things like that, but your mood, your emotions, your reactions, all of that, are you blaming it on outside people, or are you blaming it on yourself? Right. And then if you're saying, okay, this is me, what can I do to make that better?
Yes. Exactly, because that's what was going through my mind when you were saying that, is if you're blaming everybody else, and that's not to say that there may not be other factors.
Of course. But
it probably means you're also going to look to others
to try to fix it.
Exactly. So you're outsourcing your power.
Mm-hmm. 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 I think that's a really good point. And that's something that, even working with couples and things like that, that's a big point of, like, you can't lean on someone else to make you happy. You know, you have to take that responsibility yourself. Yes. And so, whether that's friendship, family.
Say it again. Say it again.
You can't lean on someone else.
Yes. Jerry Maguire, just forget about that. You complete me crap. Oh my God.
You hate that so much.
I hate it so much because I feel like it has done such a number where we're looking to others for happiness.
Right.
And what that even means.
Exactly.
Right? And so it really does start with self-care.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You cannot expect somebody else to take care of you, especially if you don't know how to take care of yourself.
Exactly.
If I don't know what does calm me down or help me, relax or I keep saying regenerate, but like a sale. But get back to my best, how can I help tell you and have you understand what I need?
Well, and I think a lot of times what ends up happening is we assign this responsibility to other people, and we get upset with them. Well, you should know by now.
Right.
You should figure it out.
Yeah.
And really, because it takes work for us to look within ourselves. Mm-hmm. And again, if you add to it any messages that you got about what it means to be by yourself, mm-hmm. to tend to yourself, or I see it a lot with couples in that, well, why did I get married then?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think that there is this romantic idea that someone's going to come in and they are going to make it better. And no.
Right.
No, it just doesn't.
It has to be better before that person comes in.
Yeah, you have to.
All it is if you are waiting on someone else, then now it's just two people that are still struggling, coming together and making a bigger mess. Mm-hmm. As opposed to, like, I know people hate therapists say, like, you have to be whole before.
Yes, I know. That's what I was thinking. Two halves.
Right, but if I'm not aware, if I don't know how to get myself out of this slump, if I don't know when I'm dealing with certain issues what I need, I'm going to bring somebody else in that's trying to figure out their stuff and my stuff at the same time. Right. And that's not really fair to either one of you.
No, and you just can't. You cannot. If you stop and think about how difficult it is for you to really understand your own experience sometimes, mm-hmm. like, why is this upsetting me?
Yes.
Why am I feeling this way? Sometimes it's hard enough for us to understand our own experience, and yet we want somebody else
to get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just... I mean, I get it. It would be so much nicer.
So I can just come in and be like, I get you. I understand exactly why you did that. But then sometimes what happens is the person does, they because they're on the outside, right? So the person might, but they were resistant to that.
Yeah.
And then it's like, wait, no, you don't know me. You don't. That's not what it is.
No. Because that means I still have to do some work within myself.
Right.
That's not as
that
fun.
Can't be it. Right. Exactly.
Let me watch you do your work. I'm gonna cheer you on. Things are gonna be so much better.
Right. We're gonna focus on you right now.
Let's change the world. Let's start with you.
So, what are some activities that somebody can do today? Like some self-care activities that can happen today?
I say just start making it a habit of, even if it's just every hour, pausing. Especially if you do work where you're just kind of mindlessly kind of, and not even just mindless, but just you're going. Just stop every hour, set an alarm on your phone, something to remind you, like, let me check in with myself. Okay, so how am I feeling right now? Do I need to get up? Do I need to stretch? Do I need to get something to eat? Just even started with the basics of practicing tending to your needs.
Right. And recognizing awareness. That's what you're saying. Like,
building that awareness.
And I think to push that a little further, in that hour, take a minute and do nothing. Like, close your eyes, breathe, pay attention to your body. And if you do that for a minute or two, technically you've meditated for that day. People always say meditation is so hard. But if you take a couple moments and just pay attention to what's happening in here and what's happening around you, it'll help you become more aware when you do feel tense, because we don't even know when we're relaxed.
Right.
Our bodies are always doing something else. Like, so sometimes we'll have a pain and not even pay attention to it because it's just like, this is normal.
Or you get used to it.
Exactly.
Sometimes we don't even breathe.
Yes.
Like, if you stop to notice how often you hold your breath, like, oh shit, I was just holding my breath. Just take a breath and see what that feels like. One thing that I like to do for my self-care is, you can see them, I buy flowers for myself. Would it be nice for somebody else to get it from me on a weekly basis? Yes. But I'm not going to wait for that.
Yeah.
And so I love, I'll bring some flowers in here, and it just makes me feel good, or my essential oils, or like I said, self-care is also setting boundaries.
Yeah.
It's also saying no
to something. If somebody is offering you something that you do not want to do or participate in or be a part of, whatever, to just say no with no excuse. No, just no, not interested.
Yeah, no, I can't. I can, or no, whatever.
Yeah.
You don't have to always give a reason, but just caring for yourself. And it starts, I think, with, I give clients this little workbook that I put together. And it's got all these different sections, because I don't even think people sometimes realize how many different categories there are to self-care. So we're talking about physically. Did you eat healthy meals today? Did you get enough rest? Did you get your body to move? Whatever. Do you go see the physician when you need to? Then spirit, like, do you have a faith that you practice? Does that mean going out in nature?
Right.
Like, how you tending to your spirituality? And then, your mind, your emotions. Do you allow yourself to even feel your feelings?
Right.
Like, I'm feeling great today.
Yeah.
Or I'm not feeling great, and I'm going to allow myself to cry.
Yeah.
Self-care sometimes can just be simply allowing yourself to feel your emotions.
Exactly. I think also another thing you can do is take a little bit longer to do something that you enjoy. Sometimes we eat, or we take a bath, or we just do things quickly. Take longer. Do it for like 5 minutes longer. Like, if you made a meal that you're really going to enjoy, like, make it a thing.
Right.
Like, sit there and smell it and eat it and pay attention. Don't watch TV. Really be immersed in whatever activity you're doing right then and there.
Yeah.
Again, that goes back to that awareness.
Yeah. Well, and I think a big part of what you're talking about is having a practice of mindfulness, right? Like, and I think a lot of times people misunderstand what mindfulness is. It's not necessarily I have to be on the mountaintop in a meditative state,
right?
For hours. It simply means you bring your awareness to this moment. What's it feel like to be sitting on this couch, having this conversation with you, with this mug in my hand, and immersing yourself in the moment? Right. That's a great way to build awareness.
Right. Other stuff I think is simple, like kind of the stretching or I just keep thinking of lotion for some reason. Like, I think of, like, lotioning yourself and really, like I said, being more intentional in what you're doing and paying attention.
Coconut oil.
Coconut oil.
Coconut oil is everywhere.
Taking a moment to kind of zone out of other things that are going on. So even if that does mean watching your trash or reality TV or being on Instagram for a while or something like that, but then also taking a moment without the technology, you know, and really paying attention. Tidying up your room.
Oh yeah,
that's what I'm gonna do when I leave here today.
Making my bed every morning is my self-care. Like,
really,
I cannot get in the bed if the bed is not made. I cannot
get in the bed.
I cannot. Like, let's say for some reason I didn't make the bed. If I get home, I'm gonna go to bed. I have to make it first before I cannot get.
That was not judgment. I don't look like it.
I've been judged before, but I cannot get in it, and I cannot get under the covers if it's not bedtime. Like, I'm like,
so you sit on top of the bed, on top of the covers.
Yeah. But once you pull those covers, like,
do you have like a blanket that you use when it's not bedtime?
I don't typically like.
I will,
but I will be on the bed. But I like my self-care. I have to have my bed made, and I cannot get in it if it's not made.
Sunday I was in my bed all day. Computer. That's my problem. No, I need to like move it to another place of my house.
If I'm in it, fine. But I can't get in it without it being made.
Okay.
And I might just be like, okay, just tighten it up. Okay. But anyways,
that is so funny.
That is a huge part of.
There you go. See if that changes your life. Make sure your bed is made before you get into it.
If you a nicely made bed, like, and then you come out and you're like, like the bed is made. That is huge for me.
But I think that's a good point of creating these spaces that create peace within you.
Yes.
I know for me, like whenever my room is clean, which is not very often, but it does happen. But whenever I've cleaned it, like for like the 3 days after that it stays clean, it's like I feel good walking into my room. Whereas other times I'm just kind of like, I look at the mess and I'm like, okay, what do I need to find? Let me throw this over here. You know, so I think that creating those spaces, actually that's on my list of things that I want to do for myself. Is just finding spaces that I feel comfortable and at peace in.
Yes.
And that's why and that I feel at home in, because I think that's a difference too.
That are very
like
soothing.
exactly. So
that's why I'm so big on the space in here being a certain way, because you know you go into a space and it's like, oh, it smells like this and it looks, it's like it already kind of calms your nervous system. It's like, okay, I want to get cozy, you know, I want to relax, you know. So yeah, that's a big one, having a tidy area.
That's true. Any like self-care activities that most people wouldn't think that are self-care activities?
I'm a sex therapist, so self-pleasure. People, you know, that's one of the things that I tell clients about is self-care can also deepen your ability to experience pleasure, be it partnered or solo.
Right.
And that's a big part of it, is because as you're building that awareness, that self-care, you're also learning what your body likes, what your body responds to, what it doesn't like, and you're able to guide your partner. You're able to express what it is that you want. But again, if you're not partnered, you know how to bring yourself pleasure.
Exactly. Yep. I always think about this one because I think people hate it. Your finances, like budgeting, like sticking to a budget.
Yeah,
it's self-care. Like deciding where my money is going, where it's coming from, how do I reach these financial goals, and really holding yourself accountable to that stuff. That's self-care.
Yeah, that's like you know, we've kind of talked offline about the difference it makes when I sit down Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, I plan out my week.
Exactly.
What bills are due this week? What days am I seeing clients? What am I gonna post? And having all of that lined up.
Yeah.
And then I don't have to think about it.
Exactly.
Because I'm thinking to myself, this week on Wednesday, you're gonna be a hot mess. So I'm gonna care for myself now. I'm gonna give myself this time to be prepared.
Right. Another one, I think that's good because that goes into just planning your week out and not having to make decisions in a moment, which causes some anxiety when you do have to do that. So that could be bills or anything.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was listening to a podcast and they were saying that just you don't think about the energy that we have to exert to make decisions. Like it requires a certain amount of energy. So once you boom, 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 plan that out, I don't even have to think about it. I already know what I'm going to do next.
Exactly. Especially if you're like indecisive like me, like sitting there looking back and forth, like, what do I do?
Or easily distracted like me.
But if it's already done, then you don't even have to think about it. There was one more. Oh, of course, like exercising, which nobody wants to necessarily. Well, some people
do.
You know what? What I'm learning,
my heroes.
the more and more I learn, is nobody really wants to do it. Some people just have that discipline enough they need to do it.
Yeah.
But that could be wrong. Some people might want to, but
yeah.
But yeah, like moving your body.
That'd be dancing. That'd be walking. I got this Fitbit a little bit ago, and I'm like, man, no wonder these pounds have been adding up over the years.
You don't move.
Yeah, I was like, damn, because you're supposed to get 10,000 in a day. And so
is that typical for just everybody?
I think that's what they recommend.
Oh, okay.
That everybody get.
I'm sure I'm gonna get that. I sit in this chair.
I'm telling you, I realized, and then with our brand ambassador Danielle, you can kind of compete with challenge one another. So I'm like, Daniela just keeps moving. How'd she get all these symptoms? But it's a great way. This has helped me with my physical self-care, and then I'm like, wow, like I'm really not moving my body more, and so I'm gonna take that walk. I'm like, figured out we have a really cute little park down the street. We got a little swing, but I'm moving my body more because I'm like, okay, I need to move my body.
Right.
So yeah,
that's awesome.
Moving your body.
So I have a question. I'm about to put you on the spot. You said you created a workbook?
Yeah. So it's called the Self-Care Reset Guide, and it's a free gift that I give to people. And essentially, what it is sometimes we don't even recognize how close we are to burnout. And so this guide, which I like it because you can kind of go through it. You're like, why you didn't tell me?
No, it's cool. I haven't put you on the spot yet. Give me a second. Go ahead. Ask you.
You're like, woo. So you basically can go through it, see like how close are you to burnout. But what I like also is you can use it as a daily activity, not a daily activity, but like a checklist.
Okay.
So, oh wow, I didn't even realize this was a form of self-care.
Right.
So I offer that through TRSWC.
So it is on there, so we can link it.
I can link it, yeah.
Okay, that's what I was just wondering.
Yeah,
you can link it.
Absolutely.
You email it to them, I'm assuming.
They can do the free download. You sign up, they download, and you get your free gift.
That's awesome. Yeah. Okay, we're going to put that as a resource. Because the next question is going to be like a resource or a book. Because I do want to try to get like a resource guide.
Yes.
I just think that's cool to be able to direct them to your stuff, and then y'all can learn more about her practice as well.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, if you have another resource, that's fine. But this came up when I was doing. I'm finishing up this program for couples that are looking to have a good foundation in their marriage. And when I was interviewing different people, one of my people just happened to mention the love languages book, and I know a lot of us have heard of it, but it's one of those things that to me is such a standard that when people have never heard of it, I'm just shocked. Yeah. And so I just wanted to mention that because I've had couples. I'm like, oh, y'all know the love languages, and they're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. So everybody has it. So the 5 love languages, especially when we're talking about self-care. One, being aware of how you feel love and understanding that that's probably how you're trying to send it out to other people, and then recognizing how other people receive love and things like that. So I just think it's a good book. It's a good foundational book to start with, just to understand yourself and then understand why sometimes people may be doing things to try to show you love, but you just don't receive it in that way.
You're like, why do I care about these?
That does not mean anything to you.
Right.
I bought you a purse. I don't care about the purse.
Yeah.
So
I rotated your tires. Thank you.
Right.
Well, and you can go online to their website, take a little test on there too.
Yeah.
The book goes into more depth also.
Yeah,
that's a great one.
So check it out. Check us out, melaninandmentalhealth.com.
Yes.
And
the
directory. If you are a therapist, no matter where you are, put your name on the list. So we still have, I'm not going to say how long it is. I'm not 100% sure, but we're still doing it 3 months free. So take advantage of it. Sign up. We're trying to get as many therapists on there as possible because people are looking, and we need to make sure that we have people for them to find.
Just had an inquiry yesterday. Somebody looking for a therapist in New Orleans or in Louisiana, because I don't know if Louisiana does like Texas where they can do like video sessions.
Oh, okay.
And so that's another option, for somebody in your state.
Right.
To do video sessions.
That's true.
People are looking for you.
Right. I think we have one from Maryland come through.
Maryland comes through a lot.
Yeah. So just make sure that y'all are signed up on there. there. Like I said, it's free for the first 3 months. You just have to go in, put your information in. It takes all of maybe 10 minutes to sign up. Throw some pictures on there. If you don't have the pictures, you can add them later. But make sure you go on there, buy some merch.
Yeah, we got our self-care sexy.
Yes.
We got that, the mugs. I love my mug. I'm over there like,
And follow us across social media at Melanin Mental Health, Melanin Health on Twitter.
That's right.
Join the podcast group Between Sessions Podcast. And if you are a mental health professional, join the Melanin Mental Health Facebook group, and I think that's it.
Yeah, and if you are on the directory, if you're going to sign up for the directory, again, we're trying to connect you with potential clients, so you can come on here if you're local. We'll Google Hangouts
if you're not.
But we want to let people know about what you're doing. You're part of the city, you're part of the state, you're part of the country.
Yes.
To connect you with those clients that are looking for you.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Cloud. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.